Okay, I want to talk a little bit today about the famous actor Jackie Chan. He's a famous Hong Kong actor, of course. Well, I guess I'm stating the obvious. He is probably one of the best known Asian actors in the world. He's famous for a lot of martial arts films, a lot of comedies, that sort of thing. I don't. I've never particularly been a fan of Jackie Chan for no other reason that I'm not that interested in the martial arts genre. I've never really watched many of his films. So I certainly knew of him because he's famous, but I was never a huge fan. But anyway, in recent weeks I've come across a few reports about Jackie Chan, which, let me just quote you something. This is from the I newspaper. Hong Kong's most famous film star, the arts and comedy legend Jackie Chan has been named a member of the Chinese government's senior political advisory body. The 58-year-old rush hour actor will be a Hong Kong delegate for the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, which reports to China's annual rubber stamp Parliament and National People's Congress next month. A staunch defender of single-party rule by the Communist Party, Chan has become a controversial figure after saying there should be limits on public protests in Hong Kong, which enjoys greater political freedom than the mainland. He also described the US as the world's most corrupt country and said China has long been bullied by foreign powers. Chan's movie ZZ-12, which was about a quest to track down Chinese zodiac statues taken by Western troops during the Opium Wars in the 1840s, was China's fifth highest grossing film last year. Another prominent member of this year's CPPCC, according to the Phoenix Report, is the Nobel laureate, literature laureate Mo Yan. Mo has been criticised by some for not being outspoken enough about fellow writers who have suffered at the hands of the Chinese government, such as fellow Nobel laureate Liu Xiaobo. Okay, so basically you get the picture there. Talk about Jackie Chan has basically become a cheerleader for the communist regime. Okay, firstly, he's entitled to his opinions. We're all entitled to our opinions. If he supports communism, that's his business. Fine. I'm somewhat surprised because it's very unusual for a Hong Konger to be so outspoken in support of the communist regime. That's unusual. I'm not saying it's unheard of, but it's unusual. Because the good people of Hong Kong generally realise the threat that one-party rule can pose to freedom of expression. We saw that recently with the attempted re-education reforms, which was basically an attempt to brainwash children into the party rhetoric. And the people of Hong Kong protested against that, and I believe it got watered down in the end. Hong Kong sort of enjoys a degree of autonomy from the mainland. It's not entirely democratic in the sense that, you know, there's still some degree of control there, but certainly more democratic than the mainland. And as such, people tend to have more access to alternative views and so on. So, Jackie Chan's entitled to his views. But the reason I say he's a hypocrite is because this anti-Western stance, this claim that China's long been bullied by foreign powers, you know, this really is a worn-out record that the party likes to play very often. And it just doesn't wear, it's just not relevant. I mean, the first thing is China's a powerful country, a very powerful country. It's a member of the Security Council, it's a powerful country. The world's second biggest economy, the world's biggest military, one of them. It's not a little country. So this claim of bullying makes it imply like some little impoverished West African country that can't defend itself. This is a powerful major world player, and it always has been actually. Now, I'm not going to sort of condone some 19th century policies, especially the way that opium was forced onto China at that time. But let's put things in context. The total death toll of the Opium Wars was around 200,000 or 300,000 people. Okay, it's a lot of people. But in the long history of China, believe me, there have been a lot bloodier conflicts than that, and a lot greater repression. So it's peculiar that every time the regime is questioned, they bring up the Opium Wars, which was 170 years ago. Far worse things have happened since, and I'm not just talking about the Japanese, I'm talking about 60 years of communist brainwashing, of communist propaganda, of communist torture, of communist persecution, of communist xenophobia. Now, and this is why there's utter hypocrisy to attack the sort of Western opium policies of the 19th century, because far worse things have happened since. The biggest threat to the Chinese people is the Communist Party. And you know, this guy he's a rich actor. He's bound to know something about the past. He is bound to, I mean, what the hell was he on the 4th of June 1989? You know, and I can understand if this is sort of a poor rural person in the mainland who doesn't have access to other sources of information and who would maybe believe the party. Although that's not even the case, because a lot of people on the mainland are starting to learn the truth about the party now. But this is just rank hypocrisy for him to attack so-called Western bullying when A, the West has helped his career. You know, if it wasn't for Western film audiences, he would not be half as famous or rich as he is. He might have some, you know, he might be well known in China, but he would certainly not be anywhere near as well known as he is outside. I know he's been promoted in the West. Western talk show hosts have invited him onto their shows. He's a big actor. And you know, like I said, it's not about him having an opinion, although I think it's a very warped opinion, but it's a hypocrisy of using that as an excuse to sort of silence legitimate criticism. It's pathetic, and it's what the party does every time that they are facing criticism. They just use this, oh, we're being bullied. Yeah, poor China. You know, what a poor little country, this of 2 million soldiers, this world's second biggest economy. You know, you make me cry. I'm so sick and tired of the communist regime playing the victimhood card when they are the ones who have been doing all the oppressing for the last 60 years plus. I'm so sick of it. And it does show a deep xenophobia in the regime that whenever China has a problem, they blame outsiders. And that's a way to deflect from their own shit. And I'm so sick of it, basically. You know, this is just, if China is going to be a significant force in the world, then it's going to have to be more open and just stop being so damn arrogant. And his attitude basically demonstrates communist arrogance, which is, oh, you're criticizing us, that means we're being bullied. It's not bullying, it's legitimate criticism about legitimate issues, like censorship of opinion. And I'm sorry, but this does piss me off. And I can understand the people of Hong Kong being angry about him, because, you know, he's basically saying they shouldn't be allowed to have an opinion on the communist regime. He's saying I can support them and we're being bullied, but he's the one who supports a regime that bullies the people of Hong Kong, or tries to. You know, so who's the real bully here? That's the question. Nothing but rank hypocrisy, and a good example of communist hypocrisy and communist arrogance, or specifically the Communist Party of China's hypocrisy and arrogance.